afternoon and good evening. I'm Dante St. James. Tonight, looking at protecting your socials from hackers. My goodness, this comes up every single week. I get a new person booking in time with me to help them sort of unravel a disaster of what is essentially their own making, even though it doesn't feel like that at the time. It definitely feels like you're under attack. And to a degree you are, but it's something which is utterly preventable in all cases. It's not something which, hackers aren't magical people. They're just able to get into things because of the silly things that we don't get right. And I come to this not just from a preachy point of view. I'm coming to this from the fact that I got hacked in 2018 myself and lost everything I'd done before that on Facebook, which included, put it this way, I've been on since 2008 is when I first started my Facebook. So I've lost 10 years of memories, of things I'd posted, of business processes, of the things that I'd done to reach out to people. And an entire business of mine had to essentially close down because I couldn't get into my Facebook. So I don't want that to happen to you. This is what this is all about. I'm a digital educator, multiple small business owner myself, and also an advisor on this digital solutions program. Specifically, though, I work with Meta as a community trainer, and that certification allows me to go all over the place. I was hoping to get into Auckland tomorrow, but I wasn't able to sort of sneak it in. But they do have an event in Auckland in New Zealand tomorrow. Doesn't help you or I, though, but that was something I was really hoping to get into. But I'm here with you instead, and what we're going to look at is working around that stuff in a way that isn't going to take all your time and is going to give you some really good peace of mind. Unfortunately, it will slow you down a little bit, but that's kind of a good thing when it comes to this stuff because the stakes are real. In Australia, in 2025, $60 million was lost to social media scams. And that's not just the locked out of your account stuff and lost revenue. That is also people who had literally handed over money to people that were pretending to be you, essentially. 127% rise in business complaints about digital platforms since 2022, which means that this was happening and has been happening for a long time, but it really took a spike up from between 2022 and 2025. In the last year, it has been rampant. If I come across one a week, I come across 2, 3, 4. Some weeks it's in double figures of people who have come to me to ask, please, where do I get help? You have to think of your page as your shop front. What would you do to protect your shop front? You'd put up, locks on the doors. You'd put up shutters on the windows. You would make sure that if you're a jeweler, that all the jewelry was removed from the front case and put in the safe out the back. It's your service desk. So when you are trying to service your clients or have them contact you through there, that goes if you don't have that. And it's also the place where you promote yourself, whether that's through your organic posts or whether that's through ads you're placing as well. And that makes it a real target. I know you're not Kim Kardashian or you're not Brad Pitt or something like that where you're super famous and people deliberately target you. No one actually deliberately targets you specifically. But what happens is bots are going around the internet looking for weaknesses. And what they do is a process of social engineering. And this now with AI has been scaled right up. So what it can do is go and look and say, okay, this person says they work for this company that they appear to own. Great. Okay, so their granddaughter's name is Brooke, and their granddaughter, I can see on their post on Facebook, was born in 1998. Okay, so the good chance is if I do Brooke 1998 as their password, I'll probably get in. And lo and behold, they get in because that's what we do. We put that same password on every single thing we have because it's easy to remember. Problem is, it's also easy to hack. And that is the problem. You're a target because these attacks do target people, not necessarily software vulnerabilities, if you are someone who is a public figure. Worse when you're a really big public figure, but all business owners on social media are now public figures. If you have listed on a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook profile that you have a business or you've told people that you're a business owner, then you are a target in there. And hackers, what they try to do is exploit your credibility. So when they break into something like Facebook, what they're essentially trying to do is get in and run ads against your credibility, your business name, and they'll burn your ad budget in like minutes if they can, just to get a whole bunch of ads out for crypto scams, selling illegal products, all that kind of thing. And what happens is that whilst they're trying to get their ad out to as many people and scam it all at once. They're actually doing it to about 100,000 different profiles all at the same time. You're not the only one. There's about 100,000 of you all at the same time pumping out these ads. And Meta doesn't seem to be particularly interested in stopping that from happening. They still get their money, except when it does get caught out, and then that has to be reversed. And what they will do then is block the account that seems to be putting out those illegal ads for those illegal products. And regardless of whether you're a completely legitimate person and your business is completely legitimate and has a history of many, many years, maybe decades of operating in a legitimate way, the minute you do that and it's shown that your brand, your ad, your account is doing that illegal stuff, you're shut down. And you may attempt to go in there and appeal the decision. They'll give you one appeal, and you'll go in there all emotional and yelling and screaming and warning and saying, I'm going to put my lawyers onto you. And you know what they do? They just refuse to actually engage with you. And staff in all workplaces are told that if people are going to abuse you, you do not engage. So what do? They finally block you, and then you don't have any recourse whatsoever. Most of the attacks, when you're getting in there, really succeed on the very, very small, little, minuscule basics, right? There's not geniuses sitting with hoodies over their shirts and tapping in a computer. These are accounts that miss the fundamental protections. And I'm not even talking about going into the essential 8 of the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. I'm talking about just really basic stuff. So, first of all, the basic stuff is protecting your accounts with passwords that are unique, that are strong. You don't remember them. What you need is a password you do not remember. And although a lot of people say, oh, password manager would be really good for this, I've got password managers and they're great. They're fantastic, and no one's ever going to guess my password because it's a phrase, right? A long phrase that I remember. I've remembered in my memory for a long time, but no one else will ever remember it. So it's pretty safe. No one's going to get in there. But most of us are using the same password. We're using admin123, password 321, Brooke 1998 that I mentioned before, or the name of our dog, all things that can be reverse engineered by simply looking at your profile and like, okay, the dog's name is this, the husband's name is this, the wife's name is this, the girlfriend's name is this, and they can reverse engineer that. It used to be a person would do that. Now AI just goes and just creeps around and brings all the information back and gives like, here's a chance that this one is 98% hackable. Let's go. And then the bot will go out and attempt to hack, get in, let the hacker know, and then they go, great, let's go. And they put to work all of that illegal stuff. That's one way of doing it, is strong passwords. The problem in there is that you need a different password on everything you do, which means those 14 to 16 character passwords, they're all different. You do not have any passwords that are the same anywhere. So that's why password managers, and I'm talking about things like Bitwarden or LastPass or 1Password, those kind of systems are largely free. Bitwarden is excellent. It's probably the best out there at the moment. Absolutely free. And you can have it across all your devices and it's completely free. And you remember one password, but in that case, not even a password anymore. You use your thumbprint to get in. That's your security that opens up all those passwords, and it will drop the password into place. So the example would be if I did something like going, you're not going to see my password, so don't be worried if you think that's going to be the case. If I go to say, going into my SiteGround account, which is my web hosting, what you're not going to see here, I need to probably log out first so I can log back in again. But what you're not going to see is my password in here. I'm not even going to see my password. I don't know what my password is, but see how on here I've got this little red dots. So that there is all the logins I have and the passwords associated with them. So I change it to say this one, it would change over to a different password. For this one, this stupid thing pops up in the way and really annoys me, but I'll get to the actual one I'm looking for here. Not there. Where are we going? Not that one. I've got a lot of different accounts in here. And it wouldn't matter if you can see what my account's login is in here. You'll never be able to get the password because those passwords are about 32 characters long. So good luck trying to work that out. So I'm going to try and do this one to there. Yep, I've got the right one now. And I log in and you never see the password. I never have to remember it. I don't know what it is, but I can go into my password vault and go and look at what it is. What it also allows me to do is to sign up to certain things and allocate a password as I'm doing it. So for instance, if I'm going to, let's just go to maybe TikTok. I do have a TikTok account, but I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to go to TikTok and create an account. I don't have an account here. Hopefully it doesn't log me in because I then need to log it out. It has logged me in. So I'm going to log myself out. Once I'm logged out, if I want to set up a new account in here, so it's going to go through that process of going, oh, okay, here we go. Let's go and create a new account. Normally I would do this. So I can go, what would I like to watch? Animals, comedy, food, beauty, continue. And now I can start that login process either by using a phone and email. Let me just quickly just turn that stupid thing down the background because they have this terrible habit of making autoplay videos make noise and you can't stop it. So I'm just going to mute that side out. That's better. So when we're in here, I can then go in through things like my Google login, which I really think is a good idea for you to do, as long as that password's very strong as well and not easy to guess. But if I even put in a phone or an email address, so I'm going to do an email address, make it info@clickstarter.com.au. There's a fake, there's not going to be an account. I'm going to completely destroy it as soon as we're done. And then inside this last password I'm using, I've got options to generate a password. So I'm just going to quickly do that before anyone sees it and copies it. And then I've got that saved in my clipboard. I can log into that. It's not going to let me log in because I haven't even created an account yet. So I'd need to probably do that first. Here we go. And set up all those things. But what it does, it pops up over here on the right saying, hey, add to LastPass, this combination, that login, along with the password as well. And it will do a different one for every time, as long as you do that. Never, ever put in a password you can remember, because remember, you don't have to remember this anymore because a little plug-in on your browser here, so that little red thing that I'm hovering over at the top there, that's the plugin for my browser, but it also exists on your phone, even on Apple phones. So I've got an Android, but it works on Apple as well. Apple's got its own keychain kind of stuff that helps you do the security in there as well. So you can do all of that. I don't have to remember those passwords. You won't have to remember any passwords. That's what a password manager does. So the two-factor authentication part of it is that if I go to log into something, we want to try to make it so we never need to have a password in the first place. So two-factor authentication can be through what we call a pass key. Now, pass key, different to a password. It's not something you type in. It's like a thumbprint. It's your face scan. It can be even LastPass itself can handle the security for logging into sites on your behalf, even with a pass key. But the two-factor authentication is like a check and balance. So I log in, enter my password. It says, you don't usually log in from this location, especially for me when I travel. I'm always in a different city. So it says, well, you don't usually log in from Alice Springs. So what we want to do is just quickly send a verification message to your phone. Now, you've got a few different options to go with passwords, with two-factor authentication. Sometimes it goes to an email address. Do not do that, because usually what happens, that's the first place that hackers get into. They get into your email so they can verify that. So what you want is at least your phone number as the lowest level of security, which in Australia is pretty secure. In America, it's not. You've got burner phones and spoofing of numbers that's much greater than what it is here. But your phone number, your mobile number, you get a code on there, you put the code in, off you go. The idea of using things like a verification app. So for instance, Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, there's a lot of them that you can install on your phone. And what it does, you bring up the code. So I could probably put it in front of my camera here and you'll see what I'm doing. We bring up my authenticator, and with my authenticator, you're not going to be able to log in anything because you're not going to be able to read it. So I'm not going to get too excited about this, but I'll bring that. I can see all these codes coming up on my phone in my little corner there. Those are the codes that I'll put in when prompted to enter it. So you'd need to know my username. You'd need to know my password. And once you get past that, it then go, now you have to enter this code in as well. I've got that for everything. If I don't have a pass key, like my thumbprint, like I do on my laptop or on my phone, or my face scan, like I do on my phone as well, then I have that second factor being the Authenticator app on my phone. The good thing is on Google Authenticator, I can transfer that account across to a new phone. If I lose this one, I can log in and bring that in as well, and it will save all my settings from the cloud. So that's a non-negotiable. You have to have these things in there. In fact, with Meta, as soon as you start running ads on the Meta programs like Facebook and Instagram, you are forced to have two-factor authentication. They give you a limited amount of time to do that. You also find they're now starting to force it through if you own a business page on Facebook. So that's a good start. The first thing you need to do when you get any of these powerful passwords or two-factor authentication is secure your email first, because that's where all of your notifications are going when it comes to, someone's trying to log in, or here's like a reset request for you. All that stuff's going through your email. So if someone's trying to break in, they get your username and they want to reset your password because they already have access to your email, they can go in there, they can get that password reset link, hit it, get the new password in there and lock you out. The email is the number one place that people go to first. It's always the first stop. Secure your email. You're going to cut off access to a lot of other things. So absolutely non-negotiable. If you've got an unchanged password for any amount of time that's more than 6 months, get that thing off there, get something super secure, and make sure you take it seriously, because it's a real business tool. And that's the stuff that's going to get you hacked if you don't change it. Like Brooke 1998 is not good enough anymore. You have to do a bit better than that. I know it's hard to remember passwords, but if you're like my parents, they've got it all in the little notebook. And that is a surprisingly secure thing, because someone literally has to come to your home, break in and get your book in order to get that password. So do that as well, because it's only really high risk for someone who is a very high value, high targeted individual. If you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or a Kardashian, or a Hemsworth, then you're the kind of person that people would try to do that, because in order to get access to your account, that would give them access to millions of people. So they could be protesting something, or they just want to sell cryptocurrency or peptides, and that's what they'll do. They'll get in there and do that. You and I, we're not that important. So what we find we can do is just use a password book. Just have it, but make sure it's not something that's going to get lost or get burned down if your house suddenly catches fire. So there's upsides and downsides. My parents have got their book, and that's served them really well for 30 years now. And it's always up to date. And I always know that when I need to do updates for them at home, when I get there and visit and do all their computer stuff, that we always know that we're able to get into their accounts and do the things we need to do without anyone else knowing. Also, another thing is active login sessions. So it's always worth looking at where else you're logged in. So for instance, I can go into maybe Facebook. So I open up a new page here. So I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm going to log into it. And what I'm going to do is look at where my active sessions are. I can see that through my security settings. So what I would do is pick up here, go into, let's get that out of the way, settings and privacy. And what I want to do is a privacy center, or do some settings like that. I can do my privacy center, and then I can see all sorts of things I'm doing in here. But what I really want to look at is more so less my privacy. Privacy is important. I want to look at my security. My security is really my biggest concern of where I log in and how I log in. So if we go there and start to look for where that is, we start to go, okay, well, settings and privacy, we'll go there, settings, and we'll go and now look for how we log in, and that's through our account center. I'm going through the Meta thing because that's where most people are going to be hacked, basically. Not a lot of people are getting hacked on TikTok and all those. So I can see there's all my profiles I got attached. In my Meta AI account, my Threads account, my Instagram, my Facebook are all there. What I want to look for, though, is where things are currently logged in. So I can see all my personal details. I can look at password and security. And what I can see here is where you're logged in, where you're logged in currently. So I'm logged in on my Mac, which is right here. My Google Pixel is logged into, this is my main phone, is logged into my Instagram. There's a device that's unknown that's currently logged in there. So I think what it is my other Macintosh that I've logged into as well. And then I've got Threads logged in over here as well. So what that is, that's Meta AI. And it shows me I've got like two more, like I've logged in Perth, I've been logged in Adelaide. So they're places I've been. The Perth one's a bit of a, that's a bit of a, one I don't want to be logged into right now because I'm not currently in Perth, but that was back on the 5th of May. So if I really want to be safe, I can log it out and out it goes. Right now I'm in South Australia, but I'm usually in the Northern Territory. And then I can go, okay, that's now been logged out. I can now sort of chill a bit and here see all the other places I have been logged in back in 225 to see if there's anything that I really want to check. But that thing is really good to see, is there someone else logged into my account at the moment? If you've got people running your ads accounts, that sort of thing, maybe there would be some people logged in there. But what you want to do is audit that, fairly frequently. I'd say maybe once a month is enough, just to see who's logged in, especially when you've got other people accessing your accounts for admin and all that kind of stuff. So verifying your recovery details means making sure that if you need to recover your account, there's an email address that still comes to you and a phone number that still comes to you. But any old connected apps, any old connected phone numbers, any old connected email addresses that you cannot access anymore, get rid of them, get them off that list, because you're never going to be able to get them there. And you don't know who is now getting hold of that phone number now it's being recycled, because they do that with mobile numbers. They recycle them through the system after a certain amount of time. Some poor guy was getting hammered with login requests from one of my old accounts because I hadn't removed that phone number as one of the numbers that got messaged when you're trying to log into my account. Someone was trying to break in. He was getting hammered with requests. I was getting hammered with the requests. So I could at least remove his phone number from it so then he wouldn't get hammered with those anymore. And it was quite funny because, he just so happened to find out who I was by looking up that old number on the internet and saw that it was previously connected to me on a website somewhere. So that was really good for him. He was able to get protected, and I was able to know that someone was, yes, definitely trying to break into my account. So that's some of the simple things we can do. Protecting your business pages, though, is a little more tricky because you often have more than one person having access to them. There's you, there might be your marketing person who's in the Philippines, your virtual assistant. You might have a daughter or a son who helps you out from time to time. What you need to do absolutely is mandate that all of the people who access to your stuff have two-factor authentication on. Every one of them, not just you as the main super admin, but everybody has to be doing that. Because if one can get in, they can start wreaking havoc on that page. Your business portfolio on Meta particularly is like, it's like an asset that you don't want to mess with. Because if you're making money through it, if it's your primary way of reaching people, especially Instagram accounts these days for retailers, it's crazy to leave this stuff unsecured. Make sure you have two trusted admins at the admin level, right? People who can actually make changes to the account, no more, no less. You and one other trusted person, either someone in a digital marketing capacity that you work with and have done for a while, or a relative, maybe a friend, someone who is generally in your life, has been there a long time, and who you could say, look, if this happens, you're my backup, and they're okay with that. They don't need to know how to do things. All they need to know is that they are using two-factor authentication to get into their Facebook account, and that you can come to them if something goes wrong with yours. You might want to do it for someone else. It might be a bestie in business that you want to do that with. Oops, I just completely wiped out my presentation there. There we go, we're back. And also remove old access to ex-staff and past agencies. They have to be gone. You cannot leave them in there. From the day you say you're no longer working in that agency, you have to kick them off your account, kick them out of your page. You cannot keep them on there, because that happens, you're really leaving yourself open to a lot of problems. So it's really scary. I know I mentioned a tool later called Bitwarden. So I know someone was asking me there that, whether I am, it's called Bitword. It's actually called Bitwarden. So I'll just bring it up on the account here. So Bitwarden, and that will take you there. So Bitwarden is this one here. So it's an excellent password manager and 100% free. You never have to pay for it. Even as a small business, you'll never have to pay. It's a very much a community project and excellent. The one I use is LastPass. They went through some problems a few years back because they got hacked themselves. But LastPass is one I use, and it's been very good for me. Apart from that little hiccup they had a few years ago, they've been great ever since. So that's the one I use. I do pay for it only because I've got it across, 70 staff. So it's like I have to have a paid version, that level of protection of the business. So that's one of the things you do. You definitely have to make sure that you are that you're definitely you know, removing that old access, not letting people have access who used to work for you or used to do stuff for you, like digital marketing agencies and local, what are they called? Local search, those kind of people. Protecting your business pages also means protecting your payments and having an off-platform place where people can go to, where you can communicate with people if something does go wrong. So excuse me, understanding how you know how to go in quickly and turn off payments going on. So for instance, if I was to go into my Facebook ads account, so I go to Facebook, I'm going to go into my ads, go to the ads manager. I can very quickly, without any kind of really thinking too much about it, go into my ads account and turn off the payment button. So for example, I think this is the one I'm currently running here. We'll see in a second. You can see I've actually had them take, yeah, no, that's not that one. This one here, one at the bottom. So that one in there is basically, and you'll see some of the things, how much I've spent this week, how much I've spent today. What I can do is go in and check my ad account settings, look at my billing and payments, and I can turn that off straight away. So I can remove that credit card and stop it straight away. So I've got, go pay things now. What I can do is go in to remove that. I can actually remove that straight away. The other thing is too, if you really need to, I can just do this and remove, and that will remove it. In the case I've got an active account going on, I'd have to add some other payment maybe just to cover it, but you can do that. The other thing you can do is set a spending limit. You can set a limit in there. So I'm spending no more than this much, say in automatically on the first of the month, update the spending limit to no more than $100. So even if someone does get in there and starts going crazy, you're not going to lose any more than $100. Depends on how much you spend in a month. I spend several $100s a month. So, or actually more than that across all the businesses, but probably several thousand a month. But what we do is we put that spending limit in there so that if anything does go wrong, they can't go crazy on any one of those accounts. And we've got a different account for each one of those business entities that I work with. So that's another way you can look at protecting that. And also, don't just be on Facebook and Instagram, be elsewhere. So build your audiences, not just in one place, but in multiple places, particularly your email list. MailChimp or MailerLite, or through your customer relationship management system, your HubSpot, whatever you're using, have your customer records in there so that you can still reach people and you can still operate your business if Meta disappears tomorrow. Because it can be that quickly. It can be that quick that you'd lose access to all of your channels for social media. So just make sure you've got somewhere else that you can have some sort of business continuity over. Reused passwords are the devil, because one leaked password becomes the key to absolutely everything. So, and as I said, most people are still running that one password for their email and across everything else. Banks have got really good at this, of requiring two-factor authentication, fingerprint ID, all sorts of secure ways of logging in. But our social media and our online platforms, we still haven't quite got that through our heads. This is something we really need to use. But criminals will take those stolen logins and try them everywhere. They're not just going to try it on just Instagram or just Facebook or just your email. They're going to try it on everything. They're going to try it on your insurance. They're going to, anything they can find, because they're already in your email, anything they can find in your email, they'll just go berserk and try that password on everything. If you've got the same password everywhere, they get into everything. You are screwed. That is called identity theft. And it's so easy to do that it's, well, I was about to say it should be criminal. It is criminal. So please, 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 like I beg of you, please start using different ones. Phishing and man-in-the-middle things are where people they create a fake login page. So they'll get you to log into some fake page. So what you got to do is make sure that if you're logging into facebook.com or instagram.com, that it is actually facebook.com or instagram.com. Sometimes they'll be really smart and they've got some ways of making sure, like the Facebook, the A is an O, but it looks like Facebook, but you don't notice it because you're just glancing at it. Just be careful of what you're clicking on, just to make sure you're not going there. And look, some things can get into your computer and hijack you, even if you've passed the two-factor authentication and got into your computer, they can sort of jump in and start doing it as well. But by then, you're probably pretty sure that someone's hacked your computer. And the best thing to do is shut the laptop and stop them from going any further. So cut that connection, unplug the internet, just completely shut your computer, just shut it. And that will be a quick way of closing them off. leave it for, at least 30 minutes, open back up, and then quickly secure everything before they notice. And then you'll hopefully be okay. But that's a very rare thing that will occur. It's not very common. Usually it's just they get your password, they get in, and they just go and wreak havoc with everything. The session stealing malware, look, don't install fake software, free software from really dodgy places like BitTorrents and something that some cousin sent you that you haven't heard from in 23 years, or just don't do that stuff. And also, the other way they get in tends to be through other people. So remember, the staff members that have left, the freelancers, even the staff members who are still there, don't know they're being hacked. They just think it's you asking the question and saying, hey, what was that password again? And they're using, they're coming to you from an email address that looks legitimate. You think it's them. Just check. If you need to, make the phone call to the person that you know on their usual number. Even if the person in the email says, oh, don't call my normal number because I'm not on that, call a normal number, and you'll find out straight away that someone trying to pretend to be that staff member. Again, this stuff's a little bit more rare and it's very, very targeted. I'm just concerned really about protecting your social media accounts by basically not having people get into it in the first place using that password. The simplest prevention, two-factor everywhere. Password managers, authenticator apps, all that normal stuff. The kind of stuff we've been preaching for the last decade, really. Admin hygiene, making sure you have those two trusted admins. Remove all the old ones. If there's someone in there who you're not sure what they're doing in there, remove them straight away and make sure they're completely gone, because having them in there is just creating another surface for them to come in through. The stay skeptical, just don't believe anything that anyone has to say. If I ever get an email from someone pretending to be from either Facebook or Google, I just immediately go, there's no reason why they will be contacting me right now, so block. Even if they're legitimate Google ads partners and Facebook ads partners, I don't need Facebook and Google people to be guiding me through things. So I block them off straight away. Stay skeptical, stay safe, and also have other places to go. So make sure you get a website, an email list, a Google profile, all these things. Because what they'll also do when you start going through the process after being hacked of trying to get all your stuff back, they're things that they can look at to be able to assess your credibility as being the person you say you are and the owner of that account. Human help is almost impossible when it comes to Meta. TikTok's a little bit better. Google's a little bit better. None of them are good. They're all terrible. But it's Meta's particularly bad because they've got 3 billion people on their system. So it's really hard to support that many people. Human help is scarce. It can take you months to get things back sometimes, even if you can. And there's no place where you can formally appeal it. So really prevention is the only way to really prevent that. But if you are a small business with an ABN and you operate your business through any of these platforms, there are some ways forward. And the most successful one I've seen is the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, the ASBFEO. This is for if you're a small business only, not for profits, not for corporations, just for small or family businesses. Having an ABN operating within Australia, you have access to a phone number, you have access to a website where you can report all this, and they are so used to having to deal with this. In fact, it's nearly half of what they do is dealing with tech companies and the disputes they have with them. You might have seen some action in some of the newspaper sites recently, having a go about the lack of support of these social platforms. Whilst I'm always skeptical about newspapers and their bias because they hate digital platforms because they're basically what's putting newspapers out of business. At the same time, it actually needs to be called out. These platforms need to do better, not just for Australian customers, but for customers across the world. You've also got the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, the ACSC, where you report the cybercrime. So that becomes something where you can actually report that. It's like reporting it to the police. You can, if you feel like your identity has been stolen, get some free identity recovery support from ID Care. So there's a number there that you can call within Australia. And ScamWatch, which reports to the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, is also a place where we can hopefully let people know that whilst you've been hacked, maybe they can prevent being hacked as well. But the first stop for me is always report the cyber. So through Report Cyber, ACSC, that 1300 292 371 is the first stop. Second stop, the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, if you are getting nowhere with the platforms themselves. So if you're getting nowhere with Meta, nowhere with Google, that's where you go next, because they are really good at helping and advocating for them. There's a new ombudsman. There was Bruce Bilson there for a while. He was awesome. He was so helpful. But now there's a new ombudsman, same staff, same amazingly helpful staff. And hopefully they'll be just as active in this area as their predecessor has been. I've got a whole bunch of first and next steps here, which I'm going to send you, which is a guide. So you can keep this handy, keep it at bookmark, so you have it ready if you need to. It's at this address, at this QR code. Don't worry too much about having to scan that now. And I know it's probably a good idea not to scan weird QR codes everywhere, because you never know what they might be hiding behind them. But that address and that QR code will be sent through to you, as well as this presentation. And this is the guide that has all that information in there for you to be able to read. So it's got all those, all the checklists. It's got a little thing where you can actually score yourself about how secure you currently are. What those specific things you can do to set yourself up to be more secure, and most importantly, where to get help. So I've got all those details here, the ASBFEO, ACSC, all that stuff will be sent to you. If you've registered through Eventbrite, you'll get this sent to you via email on the email address that you did register on. So hopefully that helps you be, I would say, alert, not afraid. And really what I would like you to do is just to understand that it is such an important thing and such a big thing that it's worth doing, because your social media profiles are your front door to your business. Your email is like the locked security grill in front of your front door. So once they get in that email, it's not that hard for them to kick down a door and get in and just trash your business over the internet. And we do not want that. So if you need all this sort of stuff in there, and you really want probably help to sort of untangle some of these things, you can use maybe an hour with myself or one of our other social media oriented people on the program through the Digital Solutions Program delivered by Busy Business across Queensland, Western Australia, and the Northern Territory. I'm available for that as well. $110 will get you access to people like me who can help you to walk through that sort of stuff. And it's not 110 per session, it's 110 across all 5 sessions. So you get 5 sessions for that, 5 one-hour sessions. Really generous program, and we really thank the Australian government for supporting this again for a third time around.